Okay, streaming live. Let's see.
Yeah, I might have to adjust my. Give me a quick audio check. I had to bring my.
Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1.
Sounds good.
Oh, we are in the same instance, I believe.
Okay, so it connected to it.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent. It did connect.
Good morning,
Yay!
everyone.
It only took me like 5 tries to figure it out. Maybe I just got lucky.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Morning, everyone. Sorry for the wait and hold up there. I was sorting it out.
So we have a lot of people in this room, so I guess we can get started.
Excellent.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to wherever you are in the world. I'm just going to get right into the mix of things and let's have a conversation. So, welcome everyone to the Cardano Effect Podcast, episode 71. The purpose of this podcast is to take high-level developer information and projects that are occurring within the Cardano space and break them down into bite-sized, consumable pieces of information for everyday use. I'm your host, Philippe, and let's get this podcast started. Rick and myself are the hosts of the Cardano Effect Podcast, and if you're not familiar with this series, it is our live stream series. Basically, what we do in this series is we recap the last week's events, news and events within the Cardano ecosystem, and we also answer live YouTube questions. So this is a chance for you to ask us questions and for us to start a dialogue. So we try to get to as many questions as possible. So if we do not get to your question, our apologies, but we're trying to answer everything. And anything that we say in this podcast is gold until it's proven otherwise. So it's the standard. So without further ado, I want to say that none of what we say in this podcast is financial advice. Remember, you are your best financial advisor, and if you don't think you are, you need to find someone who's qualified to do so. So without further ado, there's been a lot of news this week. What's going on, Rick? How are you doing? What's happening? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Philippe. Hey, thanks for the introduction there. I'd like to give a shout out to IOHK for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you very much, IOHK. And there's a lot of news this week because of Davos. It's been a big thing, a lot going on over there, partnerships and such. And Philippe and I are going to summarize those here at the beginning of the podcast. Then we'll get into more details because there's a Reddit post for every single one of the major events going on at Davos. Really good stuff. Great time to do a weekly summary now that it's fresh in mind and freshly finished. And we'll also be checking chat so you can have your real-time live questions answered and discussed here on the podcast. That's why we do our weekly live stream here. Okay. So and a reminder to any new viewers to the podcast, this podcast is available on all major audio streaming platforms. So you can listen to this podcast on your podcasting apps. So getting on to Davos, we've summarized the 5 major videos from the Davos Diaries that were released by the Cardano Foundation on YouTube. We posted the link down below. Great videos there. And of the 5, the first one there is the Cardano Foundation. This was announced by Bakita Zimkanov. The Cardano Foundation received a grant request from Harvard Berkman Klein Center. And the news release was from Bakit. And the Cardano Foundation has approved a request for... oh my gosh, I lost it in my notes here. But they've approved requests from the Berkman Klein Center to do some research. And the formal announcement from the Cardano Foundation will follow. Okay? So that's pretty good. Partnerships coming up. Philippe, you got the second one there? Did I?
Yes.
Right?
So the second video recap was Nathan Kaiser announced the Cardano Foundation has accepted an offer from ScanTrust to implement a proof of concept integration to co-develop Cardano Connector, which is supposed to be a blockchain-enabled product to provide, and it provides authenticity. So it's an authenticity tool, and there's going to be more to follow. So we're just waiting to hear the formal documentation that's going to be released from the Cardano Foundation, but this has been a partnership or a quote-unquote partnership with ScanTrust. So let's move on to the next one.
All right, the next one was from Charles Hoskinson. He gave a keynote address talking about the latest information in fintech, world markets, and intelligent protocols, along with finance and automating all of the regulatory overhead requirements using the smart contracts. And if you remember, Charles' original video on Cardano that came out in October of 2017 is basically it was kind of a recap of that, but with all the experience and everything that's coming along in Cardano since then added to. So it was a really good keynote address. That was number 3 in the Davos Diaries. Make sure you check that out. Really good. And he has an epic saying in there, Philippe, and I wrote this this saying, quote, he said in the middle of his keynote, "Kill the middleman as a necessity, push the power to the edges, and build systems that are equally fair for the least among us and not the greatest amongst us." And that was epic, man. Absolutely epic. You got to hear Charles say it himself, so check out that video. It's number 3 in the link down below. Number 4, Philippe.
Yes, number 4 is Nathan Kaiser also announced that the Cardano Foundation Council has approved to sign an initial letter of intent with LO3 Energy, a US-based provider of local energy solution platforms. We're always talking about use cases. It seems like Cardano Foundation is all over the use cases this week at the Davos conference. So we're going to be exploring this more in detail towards the latter half of the podcast. So let's move on to number 5.
Yeah, and there's more information to follow. Both Nathan and Bakit, after they put out these announcements, they say more to follow because these are all in initial phases, so you got to bear with them. It's still young, but it's going. So be alert to future announcements related to these partnerships. And finally, number 5 of the Davos Diaries, Nathan Kaiser put out the Cardano Foundation has made a first step towards bringing an ADA-denominated structured financial product to the market. Now that's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around, but I know what they're kind of get an idea what they're talking about. They held initial talks with Gen 2 for the potential securitization structure, and it sets up the potential for future ADA-denominated products. There's still a lot of work to do, and Nathan will be keeping us updated as this situation develops. So thank you for putting that information out. Nathan, Bakit, Charles, much appreciated.
And I think the key word here is ADA-denominated products. And I think that this is what we need in the Cardano ecosystem. We need interaction with our native cryptocurrency. We need interaction with ADA. So any product that has to do with ADA or is using ADA is a plus for all of us. And there are going to be a couple themes that we hit on in this podcast today because the entities IOHK, the Cardano Foundation, and Emergo, they are both separate businesses as well. So they have their own business ventures on the side, or that they're a twofold business. They focus on generating revenue with certain blockchain applications and creating and advising and creating products for certain companies. And then there's the Cardano itself, or ADA itself. So I put these in 2 different buckets, and you're going to hear me elaborate more on that later in the podcast. But I guess we can head over to the Reddit post right now and sort by top and hit those posts.
Yep, so we're sorted by top in this week. And Philippe, I do got to say, a lot of those announcements, like when they announce about securities, like right now, I'm an average guy. I don't deal in securities. I almost don't even know what they are, right? But the idea that something like that can be put into smart contracts and put onto a blockchain, and the wheelers and dealers who make that kind of stuff work, maybe it will be put into the reach of the average person, because most of the average people I know aren't like, yeah, my securities are doing really good today. I just don't hear that.
That is true. That is true.
I don't hear that.
Never.
When you see the news in blockchain, I go, wow, that's interesting. What does it do?
Yeah. Exactly.
Security token offerings are coming up. Okay, so over on the Reddit.
Okay.
Our first big post.
All right. So the first big post is from KHALSZ, and it says that the report confirms that Cardano is the busiest project in 2019. I wrote a couple notes about this. So there's a company called Santiment, and they did an ICO, I don't know, a few years ago. So they are all about blockchain analytics. And I looked into more detail as to what it means that Cardano is the busiest project in 2019 and see what kind of metrics that they used in order to determine that. So they did use GitHub activity, but they had their own proprietary system that basically separated the fluff in the GitHub activity with the actual commits that meant something. And Cardano still ended up on top. So even though we want to argue that it's quality over quantity, and there are a lot of commits for lots of different projects that are basically fluff, change this letter, change that letter, but they omitted all of that. So even with that, Cardano was still considered the busiest project in 2019. So you can go ahead and check out that article. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Rick, but those were my findings.
I can confirm it was pretty busy. I can tell you that. Well, all the pool operators will tell you that. We did that pool operator episode yesterday, but yeah, with building test, build test, build test, and they would update it. But we saw it up to almost 2,000 commits per week prior to the Christmas holidays. They're already back up to over 1,400, approaching 1,500 commits per week on GitHub. So yeah, still very busy. So it was the busiest of 2019. Don't be surprised if it's even busier for 2020. I would not be surprised one bit. But yeah, very busy, lots of developments. And Plutus, we haven't talked a lot about Plutus over the past several months because the primary driver has been the incentivized testnet. But there's still a lot of commits on Plutus going on too. So
Yes.
yeah,
That's going to be probably the most exciting thing of this year. Those smart contracts are really going to determine where we're going as a blockchain project.
yep. And so with that, let's. I'm going to check chat, see if there's any questions in there people have.
Okay.
If you got questions, let us know. All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's see
Okay,
here.
good morning.
Good evening from Stonehenge, from Lingus, BC. Been to Stonehenge before. Hello from Birmingham. A lot of people from the UK, midday on Sunday. Let's see. I don't see any questions in there. Oh, there are a few. Petro Cianto says, "Hi guys, is there anything I can do for my tiny stake pool in the incentivized testnet? It seems I won't even create one block ever. Ticker's havoc." There you go. You squeezed in your shout out there on the Cardano effect. You just did something for your stake pool. Each stake pool operator that wants to promote their pool is individual. It's an individual thing. It's technically Cardano right now could have 600 marketers out there. Each of the pool operators works on different marketing angles. It's an army of marketers. So
Well, this is a plug for the Cardano Effect podcast, but we filmed a stake pool operator episode yesterday. It's going to be released tomorrow morning. So if you have a tiny stake pool and you want to promote your stake pool, anyone is free to come on the Cardano Effect podcast. Our invitations are very public. There's a stake pool operator group, and we choose a time, and everyone comes. Whoever wants to come and promote your pool. It's as easy as that. And a lot of people are going to listen and view your pool, and that might lead to future increased delegation. So
yes, that's the goal. We help those who help themselves. So you provide a value to the community, and the community will stake back to you is generally the idea. Not guaranteed, but it kind of works out that way. There's a question in there from, whoops, I just missed it. Tim Lambert, can you guys explain briefly what is Hydra? In short, it's where you have multiple concurrent blockchains that talk to each other, all Cardano. Let's say you split it out into 10 different ones, Hydra, multiple heads, and they all have a same backbone or a common point. And so you've got multiple processing here, multiple processing over there. They're all feeding back to the same core chain, and it increases speed. So the key with Hydra is increasing speed, and more to follow on Hydra as that develops, because we're going to have folks related to Hydra coming on the podcast.
yes, at some point, yes. So
Yeah, so hopefully that answered your question with the brief description
yes,
of Hydra.
yes.
But multiple and concurrent chains. Let's see. From Enoch Sosh, do you think IOHK has a truckload of launch partners for Goguen? My gut says Charles has some big names of smart contract launch. Maybe, but Emergo. I think Emergo is. We've got a few things coming up with Emergo in Uzbekistan, and that's where the business arm is Emergo. So we'll see. Let me see. Okay, I think we're good. Back over to Reddit. We're hopping back over to Reddit, folks. Any questions? Let us know in the chat.
Would you like to get the second post,
Yes.
Rick?
Yep, and this one is Mamuka Bakatsi, former Prime Minister of Georgia, praises IOHK pilot program in the education system. And this was a tweet from the former Prime Minister where he was praising IOHK. And this is for a pilot program in the education system. Now, I don't know all the details about that. I've looked into a little bit of it. IOHK has been working with Georgia a lot over the past year. We've heard a lot of things put out. Philippe, do you have anything to add to that one?
Yes. So the tweet from Mamuka Baktadze, I interpreted it as a Tala project. So I don't think that it's necessarily going to interact with ADA itself, but more a side project or a project that IOHK is working on to generate revenue for their company. So like this is what I was talking about, how we are differentiating certain projects from other projects. What is going to actually interact with ADA versus what's going to be a source of revenue for either IOHK, Cardano Foundation, or Emergo. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, what we say on this podcast is gold until proven otherwise. So until I'm proven otherwise, I classify this as an Atala project that really does not have to do, it's not going to increase the price or increase usability of the ADA project. So that's my opinion, and I'm open to other opinions as well.
Yeah, open to inputs and criticisms and all that. That's all good, man. That's all good. And it's good to call it like you see it. That's all you got to. That's all you can do, right?
Yes.
All
yes.
you can do is call it like you see it. Oh, like I'll give you an example. Can I go off on a slight tangent? All right.
Of course.
A lot of people are having problems with dataless. You know who you are. I did it on my Twitter poll. 12.5%. It was working okay, which means the other 80-some percent are having some sort of problem. But the good news is Jormungandr release 087 is looking pretty good on the network connection side. So I think, just my opinion, I think they hit the sweet spot, or they found where the key problems are and made a big improvement last week. So my guess is you're going to see dataless performance improve over the next couple of weeks. It will get better because that's just how it looks. If you're looking from the network side, as a pool operator, pool operators seeing improvement. They'll talk about it tomorrow on tomorrow's podcast. But I think the long-term effects is you'll get your Jormungandr will smooth out. The end result is dataless will have better performance over the next couple of weeks. And you guys know I call it like it is. I wouldn't say that if I didn't think it was accurate.
Okay.
Fair
enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's coming from Wrecked Rick, so trust me on that. I'm pretty confident. I have a high confidence level. That's what I can say. Confidence is high. All right, so our third one is...
Yes. Our third one is from Trade Feeds. It's a crypto ATM powered by Kraken and ADA by Quantarol. So if you're not familiar with Quantarol, they've been doing all of these solutions with these point-of-sale solutions with Cardano and other crypto projects. There was a video about someone going to a grocery store or in some kind of bodega type of mini mart and using items and paying with ADA. And now they have an ATM demo, which was great. I think it's an interesting proof of concept. I think that it could be very successful if blockchain regulation actually favors blockchain in the future, because here in the US, in order to open up an ATM machine, whether it's actual physical assets or like a crypto ATM machine, it's considered a banking service. So you need a money transmitting license. And some of the things that you need for a money transmitting license is you have to submit your API to the government. And that has to include all the AML controls, so anti-money laundering and ID verification, accounting, etc. So from what I see in the video, it's a wonderful product, and I'm all about these point of sale products. I really appreciate what they're doing. But at some point, we're going to have to wait until we have further clarification from representatives in the US about what we need to do in order to get these products verified. And can we, I mean, I would love to buy a Cardano ATM machine and put it somewhere in a local shop, but I think that we're ways away from that, solely because blockchain speculation is just off the roof. So we're going to have to wait until we get further legal clarification before implementing ATM machines. But shout out to Quantarol, because this is an amazing product. Amazing product.
Philippe, I'm glad you explained those details, because I watched that video too, and I saw the guy. It was very easy.
Yeah.
He put cash in the ATM, made the selection, held up his QR code, and poof, turned it into ADA very quick. And I thought, wow, you can buy ADA with cash at an ATM using a QR code. Now I can stash my cash.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't do that in the U.S.
No. I mean, I'm sure anyone that's doing illicit activities, whether you're moving drugs or doing anything of that nature, I'm sure that this would be the greatest product that ever existed, because you could just kind of launder your cash. This is the new this is the new laundromat. So, but I think we're a ways away from that. But once again, this is probably one of my favorite posts of the on Reddit this week. Quantarol is doing some great things, and I like these solutions. And it seems like even looking at the product, it seems like it's a bulky product. All you need to do is put that ATM on a base, and it seems like it's ready to go. It just needs legal clarification. So that's that would be wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. And with that and with smart contracts coming up, maybe it's time to get Umed Sidoff back on the podcast.
Oh, perhaps that would be
Umed's
great.
very active. He runs Skypool, and him and his team, he's got a team of developers or financial experts working on stuff. So maybe he can tell us more about that. All right. So that was good. That was my favorite one. Very practical, very pragmatic. ATM, turn cash into ADA or crypto or any good stuff. The fourth one was the Cardano Foundation scores a major partnership in Davos. Now, the definition of a major partnership is up for debate. Like if you score a partnership with, for example, Apple or Google, okay, that's a major partnership. Now, if you're a small company and a small crypto project and you score any partnerships, some of them are good, strategic, and stuff like that. So we're going to look at all of these in a positive light and that they could go somewhere. These could be the next biggest companies in crypto. So the Cardano Foundation scored a partnership with a company called Finca, which is located in Zug's world famous Crypto Valley. And Finca could become Cardano's partner during its transition in the Goguen area. And Nathan Kaiser put out information on this also. This one was not in the Davos diaries, but there is articles out here. So if you follow the Reddit post, you can read the articles and the details on that. But there was a lot of partnerships. I'm counting at least 4 or 5.
So I would like to jump on what Rick said. I don't know who's posting these articles, but the titles are very sensationalized, and we don't want to misdirect people that are involved with this project to make them think that certain things are happening when they're not really happening like they said. The Cardano Foundation is putting a lot of work. I wouldn't necessarily say that this was a major partnership. The company Finca it's a security. They already have their own token. I looked on their website. They tokenize cattle. I'm not 100% sure what the use case is for their particular what they want to do, but they already have their own token. It seems like this may be a cash raise or something like that, some sort of thing like that. And the Cardano Foundation said that they're going to be onboarding them during Goguen, but I don't necessarily think that it's a solidified partnership yet. I think it's more of communication, and I don't think that it's necessarily going to interact with ADA because they're running their own token, their own security token right now. It's called the Finca token. You can check it out on their website, but I would just like to taper down the headlines a little bit because major partnership is very misleading. This company, they have like 4,300 cattle, and at the current price of cattle, I mean, you're looking at revenues probably between $7 and $10 million, which is nothing to. It's wonderful. I mean, that's a small, medium-sized enterprise, but major partnership indicates something a little bit greater than that. So,
yeah, thanks, Philippe. Philippe and I we don't like to downplay stuff. We like to make it as realistic as possible. So when we see sensational headlines, do a little bit of a read and calibrate it, because crypto's like that. Everybody wants to puff everything up, and we like to take a realistic look. Partnerships are good. Davos is good, but people don't finalize their partnerships at Davos.
Exactly.
That's where they're born. At least that's from what I've read and from what I've seen. That's where the partnerships are born and formed. And over the next year, as things develop, then you will find what has legs and what grows into something important. And this could be, or maybe not. So thanks for bringing that to reality, Philippe, for giving a reality check. But that's good. All these partnerships are good. One or two of them you might make 5 partnerships and one of them really takes off.
Yes.
There's going to be a hit and miss ratio.
Yes.
Some are going to burn out, like the whole Emergo Traxia thing. That was a great partnership. It all sounded great at first, and then poof, gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it wasn't. They deal with that. But
Perfect
it's just an
example.
example. It's just a realistic example. But these are all good stuff. So more to follow on this. Any questions? I'm going to check chat.
Okay.
A few people talking about dataless, and we're still on testnet. The classic dataless. Yeah, something to be aware of. Art Greg points out the classic dataless works perfectly. So if you're looking for tech support, make sure you define which version of dataless you're using. Mainnet dataless works like a champ. Testnet dataless is connecting to a network that is a work in progress. So your testnet dataless is not going to perform like the mainnet dataless. Mainnet's awesome. Mine's worked perfect, like flawlessly for over a year.
Yes.
Flawless.
Yes.
Eventually, the testnet dataless will get there, but the network it's connecting to is increasing every week. It's getting better every week. Maybe a couple of weeks, good to go. Thanks for helping people out there in chat there, Art Greg. Let's see, anything else in chat? We'll hop back over to Reddit. Pawa Kusiak asked, any news about improving on the ITN wallet and not able to sync? Yeah, it's working. I would say about 2 weeks, Pawa. Just give it about 2 weeks, and it'll probably be very performant. That's my guess. Educated guess.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Mashur Turk, I would like to just say what his statement was. He says LTC or Litecoin is running out of funds, and Lee, I'm assuming he's talking about Charlie Lee, is asking miners for 1% from the revenue. And ADA already has a treasury model, so we don't have to keep begging to keep rolling. I think this was a very good statement because the treasury is going to be very important for the sustainability of the project. Once again, funds are not always unlimited, and the project needs to be able to fund itself. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this governance works and how the treasury interacts with voting and making sure that the Cardano ecosystem is sustainable for decades on. So I thought this was very good because other blockchain projects, a lot of them are running dry, and it's important to have self-sustaining liquidity in order to push whatever projects that you're involved with forward.
Yep. And Charles explained this over 2 years ago. He explained it again a year ago, and he summarized it very well, even with his Davos. There's a lot of consistency to what he's telling people about. You got to have a treasury. It's got to be self-sustaining. It's very consistent. It's a very consistent message, and it is proving correct.
Yes.
Reality is showing that he is right.
Yes.
You got to think about that. Reality is proving him correct.
Yes.
There's a question in here from Enoch Sosh where he says, "Hey, Philippe, so what kind of projects would you like to see IOHK and Cardano Foundation Inc. to add value to the ADA token?" So I'm going to answer that, and then Philippe, you can get your piece on that. Mine is coupons. You've heard me say it before. You want to get women involved with crypto? Put their coupons on the blockchain. And people are like, coupons? That's a dumb idea.
That would be ingenious. That's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
It is. A coupon is a smart contract. If you ever read what it says on the coupon, it's a smart contract. Easy day, buddy. Easy day. Some developer out there is going to do it, and they're going to be freaking... No, I ain't going to say it. That would be financial advice. No financial advice. Okay, so what were you going to say in relation to that?
I mean, if it's in relation, I have a list that I wrote down of possible use cases for the Cardano project. But when I was speaking about the Finca or the Finca token, it was not necessarily that I was criticizing the project trying to work with Cardano. I was more criticizing the title or the headline, just making sure people don't get their head in the clouds. And I know everyone here is involved with the project, or most people are probably invested, but we don't want to have confirmation bias just because we're invested in the project. Everything is a knock out the park, and I don't think Cardano Foundation either would have written the same headline. So that's all I was saying.
Yeah, the Cardano Foundation does good headlines with the articles that they put out, and also I really like their videos lately. Holy cow! Did you see the ones with Nathan Kaiser? It reminds me of Christopher Lambert for some reason. Like, I wasn't watching a video. I was like, he sounds like Christopher Lambert. Connor McLeod of the Clown McLeod. I was waiting for him to pull a sword out and start whacking people's heads off. But to get back on the subject of the question that he's asking here, what kind of things would add value to the ADA token? Charles enumerates these in his Davos Diaries, video number 3, where he talks about identity management, things related to pharmaceutical. I'm not quoting, but things related to medical and all that stuff. But basically, you start with something simple like money, that would be interesting if ADA or Cardano is used as money. It's that simple. It's a cryptocurrency. And then adding on top of that with the smart contracts is the ability to execute the financial institutions regulations on the blockchain with a smart contract. I'm not a finance expert, but from what I understand, they have a lot of regulations to comply with. Smart contracts can simplify that and make it more efficient. So that's where you'll see the real value added come to Cardano, is when those smart contracts start churning out efficient products that reduce the middleman level of effort and automate the process. So it's point to point instead of point to multi-point. So
Well said. Well said. Well
yeah,
said.
you bet. Good questions in there. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Next Reddit post.
Okay.
I guess I got that one. Oh, that was working on. Oh, Cardano is working with Uzbekistan to facilitate security token offerings. Did we already hit that one?
No, we did not. I
Okay.
have some notes about that.
I'm glad you have notes, because this one, again, security tokens are beyond me. But there's an article from the Tokenist.
So at the beginning of this podcast, I said that there's going to be two different branches or two different tranches that we're going to put the Cardano Foundation, IOHK, and Emergo as far as projects that they're working on. So this is Uzbekistan project. When you say Cardano is working with Uzbekistan to facilitate security token offerings, it's a little bit misleading. There's a quote from Ken Kodama, who's the CEO of Emergo, and basically says that Uzbekistan today, more than ever, is open to innovation. It is a great honor to be able to work closely with the country's government officials to help drive the implementation of blockchain technology. We're glad to provide our advisory services to the Uzbekistan government to build a central blockchain infrastructure and support local universities to train future blockchain experts. So from this quote and from the article, and you can do a little bit of more of your independent research, it seems like Emergo is working as more of an advisory role to the Uzbekistan government to build blockchain projects. I don't think this necessarily has anything to do with Cardano. Once again, these companies are also businesses. Well, I would consider IOHK and Emergo more of the business arm. So they generate revenues outside of the Cardano projects, and these are going to be advisory services to the Uzbekistan government. But what it seems like in the Reddit post is that Uzbekistan, the message that has been conveyed is that Cardano is actually working with Uzbekistan, or Uzbekistan would be creating some sort of ADA-related project, which is not true whatsoever. So I want to separate those two things. This is an advisory role, and Emergo will probably be generating some revenue from their advisory roles for Uzbekistan.
Yeah, and I think these are also still good developments, but thanks for keeping those on the level, Philippe. I'm sure everyone appreciates that. I do want to make note on these articles with STOs. Now, I got to tell you, the ICOs of 2017, early 2018, those left a bad taste in my mouth. And at first, when it went from ICO, initial coin offering, to STO, I'm like, okay, they're just taking the same bag of stuff and renaming it and calling it something different. Well, this is actually a good development because they're calling it what it is. A lot of these ICOs got deemed to be securities. So now they're calling it security token offerings, and they're being handled with or dealt with as if they are securities. So I'm a big fan of call it what it is. If it's a duck, call it a duck. Call the duck a duck. Then you'll know you're dealing with a duck. So I think that's a good development, step in the right direction. And I think once Goguen releases, you're going to see Emergo getting pretty busy.
Yes.
They're going to see him get busy because they're going to want to use this high quality, high assurance, formally verified, third party security audit, smart contract code launched on blockchain. Not everybody has that. Cardano does. So once that Goguen comes out, it's not long, man. It's not long.
True.
Goguen and Hydra, good stuff.
True.
Okay, so what else do we have? We check chat?
Yes, we can check chat.
Let's see. Oh, I have a correction in there. Enoch Sasha's correction. In one of Charles' AMAs, he did state ADA is not a currency, but more like a commodity. or securitization. Yeah, there's different definitions between depending on what your country you're in. I'm not an expert on that, but there are. Yeah, I would listen to what Charles says. He knows
Yes.
a lot better than I do. He's a mathematician by trade and training, and he's been involved in this. So go Charles AMA's definitely more accurate than mine.
Yeah. I would agree with that because I mean, if you just look at the attitude in the current test net, people are hoarding ADA like a commodity, and currency. It's not a very liquid. ADA is not very liquid. It's not like you can spend ADA for so many different products or services. So right now, I would consider it probably more of a commodity. In the future, maybe it may switch, may work as a commodity and a currency, but at this point, I don't really consider it a currency either.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, it's a cryptocurrency like a lot of others.
Yes, yes,
I mean, even Ethereum and Bitcoin isn't a currency. It's Bitcoin's value is still pegged to the dollar. Oh, Bitcoin's worth $8,000 or whatever. Okay, well, when you start measuring the value of a hamburger in Bitcoin and Ethereum and ADA, now you know the value. Like if you say, okay, hamburger is 5 ADA, well, now it's a currency, right?
yeah, yes,
But
yes.
if you got to use a Tangent card on the back of your Android to buy your hamburger, it's not quite a currency yet.
Intangible card, I mean, it's wonderful, but the actual merchant has to have a Tangem ready device as well. It's not like it's interoperable. You can't use it like a Visa card or a Mastercard. You can't just swipe it and it automatically interoperates between the actual cryptocurrency and the local fiat currency.
Yeah, and that's just how things are developed. We're still in early stages for Cardano. And Bitcoin does the same thing. It's not taken everywhere. It's still a work in progress.
Yes.
Still in early stages. We have a question from Josiah Cajun, and we'll go back over to Reddit. And he says, "How happy are you guys with IOHK's ability to code? It seems good progress is being made on the ITN, but Q1 release date deadline will be missed. And right now, we don't have an ETA for mainnet." No, we don't have an ETA for mainnet. How happy with the ability to code? Pretty happy. As far as you look at mainnet, Daedalus Wallet, good stuff. Mainnet network performance is really good, so that is working well. But I am frustrated with how long it takes. But I should know this. I am frustrated with how long it takes to stabilize the code, but it's a necessary evil. You got to go through it. You got to go through the pain, no gain. So it depends on what product you're talking about. The products that have been around for a couple years, rock solid. The products, like the Rust code, is an experimental platform. The long term is the Haskell code base. So the Rust code base, it's been a little bit painful. No pain, no gain, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So
That's been
happy
painful.
is relative.
Yes, happy is relative. I mean, they're moving forward, but the product still needs a lot of improvement. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah, the testnet, we knew that. They knew it.
Yeah.
It's been advertised. Nothing has changed about how it's been advertised except the dates. The dates shifted, but that's always been the case. So I kind of expected it. So happy. Mainnet code, very happy. Testnet code, moderately happy with some pain points, just like everybody else. Anybody would tell you the same thing. Even the developers, the developers, I got to hand it out to them, man. They are tough. They're hanging in there.
Yes,
Can
yes.
you imagine trying to write code and you got 600 annoying pull operators always chit chatting again? When are you going to fix this thing? When are you going to fix that thing? There's like 200 GitHub entries in the last month. And they're
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, they got to prioritize all those things.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's a lot of pressure for the team because if they're involved with social media, I'm sure they're facing pressure from multiple different sides. So I know that they're probably working very hard and are probably very stressed because I know that this information, you think that the employees are not lurking on Twitter and lurking on the Cardano effect and Telegram, but in actuality, I'm sure there are some of them that are. So
They're reading it for customer feedback.
yeah,
Yeah. The main point of entry, or main point of feedback is on GitHub, but Telegram also provides data points as long as people providing valuable feedback, including, hey, this is broken. I tried to do this and it broke. So people, they're reading that. The developers are reading that and learning from it. and using it to help improve.
Yes.
So, I mean,
yes.
I don't know if it's a developer specifically, but somebody is.
Yes.
Somebody's reading it. Somebody knows what they're doing. Let's put it that way. Okay. All right. Looks good in chat. Back over to
Okay.
Reddit.
All right.
Okay. Right after the Uzbekistan one, you got it, Philippe.
Okay. This is from Carl SZ. And Carl SZ says Cardano creating major decentralization milestone with Ouroboros BFT hard fork. And there is a link to an article talking about the BFT hard fork. And I didn't have any notes about this, but I can pass it over to you, Rick.
Yeah, we're going to have to do some additional Cardano Effect episodes and explaining the BFT hard fork. It's going to be simple. The BFT hard fork is necessary on the mainnet to transition the mainnet to Shelley. There will be a button in Daedalus. I don't know how it's going to work, but that's the way I understand it. And so when BFT hard fork comes up, you would download a new version of Daedalus. The message will come through the blockchain saying, hey, there's an update. Do you want to convert to the whatever? And you click a button. That's the key. You click a button and it will convert your wallet or convert your blockchain and convert your data. And it's not going to be painful. It'll be pretty easy.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? Anticipate that in February-ish.
Yes. And if you want to refer to one of our previous podcast episodes, in either quarter 1 or quarter 2 of 2019, we had Duncan Coots and the team talking about the BFT hard fork. I'm not sure exactly which episode it was, but you can go and refer to that episode. But this is basically to make sure that you can think about it as readability, to make sure that the ADA is completely readable when we go to the next phase of the project. So every phase is going to deal with a different parameters for Cardano. So ADA from a previous era is not going to be able to be read in the next era. That's how you can understand it at a base level.
But the blockchain will still be intact.
Yes, exactly.
The blockchain will still be intact, but the engine driving the blockchain will be a different engine, right?
Yes.
Good example.
Correct.
Car still runs, different engine, better engine. And IOHK has done this before, so don't worry about it. They'll get it fine. If you guys recall from, I think it was early 2018 timeframe when the blockchain was taking up about 10 gigs, and they had to. There was a button in Daedalus to migrate the blockchain, and you just click it, and it took this 10 gigabyte blockchain and reorganized it down to a 4 megabyte blockchain. Similar thing will happen with the OBFT hard fork. Is you'll have that button in there, and it will do the conversions for you to put you on the new technology for the Ouroboros Byzantine fault tolerant version.
Yes.
And that's only an interim version too. The long-term version is the Prouse version, followed by other iterations of Ouroboros. The BFT is the hold us over version until later on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so good stuff. Yep.
Okay.
OBFT coming out next month. More to follow on that. The next post, I'll hit the next one. That was Charles Hoskinson's Davos presentation. That is an epic presentation. And so it's a link to the YouTube video. I'm not going to go into details on that. You got to watch the video. Nobody can do it like Charles does. People have referred to Charles's TED Talks too, and his other stuff, and his Larry King. And when we were coming up with intros to the Cardano effect, Philippe and I tried to get permission to use those sayings from Charles on the Cardano effect intro, and they won't let us do it. Remember we got shot down?
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm not going to refer. You guys got to go watch that video from Charles from Davos. I want to get shot down again. I've been shot down a couple times. And I'm like, damn, man.
Yeah, come on, Larry King. Let us use it.
Come on,
let
guys.
Us use it.
We tried. Philippe and I tried. You'd be surprised how much we get shot down.
Yeah. But I can say what you want about the project, say what personal gripes you have with the project or whatever your attitudes may be. Charles is probably the best speaker in crypto. He is the best representative of a crypto project. Like he's very eloquent, and he makes information readily accessible for people. And you can listen to one of his talks and really feel like you understand the project. And he's the best speaker in crypto, hands down. I mean, if you have another speaker, you want to put him in chat, that's fine. But I think Charles is the best speaker.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to pimp Cardano for a minute here, okay? I got to pimp Cardano. Cardano had a delegation at Davos, okay? And between IOHK, Cardano Foundation, and Emergo, they had a team go in there with a strategy. I don't know what that strategy is. I'm not privy to that, right? But and if you look at the Ethereum Reddit, they're over there talking about, hey, why didn't Vitalik go to Davos? Maybe somebody did. I'm sure somebody did. I just don't know who.
Oh, from the Ethereum Foundation, or
Yeah.
from? Okay, okay.
I don't know who, but people were a little concerned why Vitalik didn't go. Vitalik writes code, man.
Yeah, no,
You don't
he's
need
not.
to go to Davos.
No. He's
You
not.
gotta, if you have a savant writing code,
Yeah.
write the code.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Vitalik is definitely like genius level, savant level.
Absolutely.
But he can't present. I mean, you can't present like Charles, or you can't present information that's readily accessible for people that are not coding in blockchain projects.
No, but I would love to have him on the podcast. Did you ever see he did this thing on stage with a bunch of folks? They were just having it was so fun.
Oh yes,
It was funny and fun. So
Yes.
he knows how to have fun and
Oh yeah.
he's got a good sense of humor. I'd love to have him come on someday. So maybe someday we'll be big enough and I'll get him on.
So are you referring to when he was rapping on stage, or when
Yeah.
he was yeah, yeah, that was.
It was funny. It was good. He's got a great sense of humor.
So you think Charles is ever going to do that in the future?
No, but I missed the mic flip. I was thinking when he was on Davos, I was looking for that mic flip. Is he ambidextrous? I've seen him do it right-handed and left-handed. I'm like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean those mics are heavy, so for him not to embarrass himself and catch it every time, I mean, he
Yeah.
may be ambidextrous.
Haven't seen the mic flip in a while. But we have a couple more good posts in here. Guns N' Roses.
Okay. Oh yeah, I saw that post. Once again I don't understand. It says Matt Sorum is supporter of Cardano. I'm familiar with Guns N' Roses. I'm not familiar with who Matt Sorum is. I think he's the percussionist, if I'm not mistaken.
Some people call them drummers, but yeah.
Okay. But is he really a supporter of the Cardano project, or is he more like Charles made a friend at Davos? Like, is he? What does it mean to be a supporter of the project?
I don't know, man. I know I met people in San Diego who were supporters. You saw my picture on Twitter that I posted.
Okay.
And the gentleman told me, he goes, hey, I watch the Cardano Effect. I watch your programs. He watches your channel at Phil PA and
Yes.
Digital Fortress. And they're out there, man. They're everywhere.
Okay.
And it was a good thing. I just was in San Diego, and he contacted me and said, hey, I'm glad to see you're in San Diego. Why don't you come on over? We can have a chat. And it was great.
Okay.
I went over and talked to him.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, he's a captain of a ship.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So Matt Sorum is like, people would probably consider him a celebrity if you follow Guns N' Roses. It would be interesting to see if there are any celebrities out there that are actually invested in the project. Like, not so much like they know Charles and they have a good relationship with Charles, but does Matt Sorum hold ADA? Is he staking? Are there any celebrities out there? Are you watching the Cardano Effect podcast? Or are you involved with the project? Are you invested in the project? It would be interesting. It would be interesting.
Yeah. Philippe, he might be in your Telegram channel. He just used a different name. Old Crypto Geek might be this guy. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, they just use an anonymous name.
Yeah.
Like if you were a celebrity, would you really use your real name in Telegram? No, because you'd have a bunch of scammers and spammers.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That
So
is true.
these celebrities might be in our Telegram channels, and we don't
That
know
is
it.
true.
The only celebrity using their real name is Charles, and he says, Matt Sorum says Charles is a rock star. So there you go. Who got the upgrade? Is that an upgrade for Charles, or is that an upgrade for Matt? You know, who got the higher price of real estate out of that one?
I have a question for you though, Rick, and maybe to the followers as well. So I guess we're getting a little bit off topic, so excuse me, but most people that are involved with this Telegram group or with the Cardano Effect Telegram group or watching the Cardano Effect podcast, where I've been in crypto for a little bit and I've invested in the project, the goal for most people here is to make money, to create wealth to create a source of revenue. Maybe you want to live passively in the future off of staking, whatever the case may be. You want to create wealth. So when we're talking about celebrities that may have already established wealth, is there as much of an incentive for them to get onto something at the ground level to try to create additional wealth, especially when we're talking about celebrities that are not so much like VC investors, but musicians, entertainers, athletes that are already financially stable? Do they need to find the next big project to try to 10x their wealth, or are they even concerned about that? What do you think, if my question makes any sense?
I never even thought about that before. You know, if you're already successful using American dollars or euros or yen, what do you care?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that really relates right back to Charles's quote or saying of making systems that are fair for the least among us and not the greatest among us. If you're one of the greatest among us, why would you care about crypto?
True.
I never
True.
thought of it before. That's a great question.
True.
To be
It'll be
honest with you,
interesting. Yeah.
I don't know. And you know, that's why these partnerships are taking place in Uzbekistan and Ethiopia and these other countries. It all ties back to the same thing Charles told us like 2 years ago. If you saw those original videos, is it's hard to compete in the United States when you have a system that's gamed against you, or the United States already has a solid financial system. Europe has a very solid financial system. Both of those financial systems work in favor of the powerful and the politically connected. They do. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And movie stars and people with big bags of fiat, they already have that advantage. Why would they care about crypto?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
But here we have one. So you know what? If Matt Storm is a fan, we got one.
Got one.
Yay!
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
we won him over.
I mean, I guess there's different levels as well, because someone in the comment is saying Jack Dorsey is probably an ADA holder, and I highly doubt that. His net worth is a few $1 billion, and someone else says it never hurts to get richer. That's true, but let's say a billionaire or someone that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars and has their own product or has their own platform, and maybe is a celebrity, maybe he's an entertainer or an athlete. For them to make, what's the return on investment? Like, a couple million doesn't mean much for them. And maybe they could invest a couple million and make $1 billion in the future, but how are you going to pull that money out if it's not liquid enough? And there's been so much bad press in crypto as to people just losing a substantial amount of money. Jack Dorsey could not get in Cardano and pull out $1 billion. Even though the market cap is $1 billion, you're not going to pull out $1 billion because the price would just completely crash. You wouldn't be able to get that much money out. So is there more for them to make in their own field, or is there more for them to make in crypto? For people here, you invest, what you can invest, you can make millions, make a certain amount of money in crypto. But once you start getting to a certain level, it's hard to pull that money out. It really is. I mean, you see the biggest crypto stars or the largest crypto wallets. I mean, I'm sure Charles has a very healthy wallet. I'm sure Roger Ver has a very healthy wallet, but it's very hard for them to pull out all their money at one particular time. It would just completely tank the price. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That was a
It
rant.
would.
Sorry. I'm
No,
going off topic.
No, that's fine. But to go back onto the music industry topic is probably, I believe it was the rapper 50 Cent who offered his albums for sale in Bitcoin, and he made a killing. So there you go. Smartest guy in the music industry.
But it was
I
later.
can't
It was
remember who it was.
Yeah. It was, but it was later determined that was a troll. Like they couldn't fact verify it.
Oh,
Like,
they couldn't verify it?
I think he was just trolling during the height of the bull run. He's an epic troll.
Oh,
So,
he was trolling?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So
He just got me.
But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, you don't
never know. It'd be interesting to hear. I don't think we would ever hear, because once again, you mentioned anonymity. People don't want to be putting themselves out there like that, especially if you're like a celebrity, entertainer, or athlete, because I can just imagine the amount of press you're going to get for that. But it would be interesting to see.
Yeah, it would be. And Gerald G brings up a good point. He says the super rich always want more. Thank you, Gerald.
That's true.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see. Eleanor says, was it Bill Gates? He's only stated openly that he only owns Bitcoin. Okay, for Bill Gates, fair enough.
Okay.
Steve Wozniak is involved with cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And Steve, for those of you who are younger than the age of 50, Steve Wozniak used to be famous when I was 18 years old. That was
Yes.
Steve Jobs' friend and ally in the building of Apple. So
Yeah.
the Woz is in the game somewhere. I don't know what he's doing. He's in Malta, I think.
Yes. I mean, he's involved. I could see him invested in projects because he's involved in the space. And I mean, I guess I take that back because there is a football player out there right now that is, I forgot his name, but he's heavily involved in Bitcoin, and he's pushing Bitcoin to other pro athletes as well. So, I mean, they're out there. It's just hard to see if whether or not they're involved in such a niche project like Cardano. Bitcoin, I'm sure there are celebrities and certain people that are involved with it, but Cardano is so much smaller. So, I wonder.
For now.
For now.
For now. Next year, though. All right. I think we got through our top 10 Reddit. Anything else on there that really needs to be touched on?
Yeah.
Well, there's the Cardano co-founder meets the former Georgia Prime Minister and commits to a national blockchain program.
Okay.
And so that was, we touched on the Georgia news a little bit earlier, so a lot going on in those countries. And, you know, those countries, as we had mentioned, are great places to get started, you know, because you're still dealing with thousands or hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people and millions of dollars in fiat from that country. And if you can get it working there, it can work anywhere.
Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the one of the videos that was released in the Davos Diaries about sorry everyone, I'm a little bit under the weather, but the Cardano Foundation received a grant request from the Harvard Berkman Klein Center, which I thought was wonderful news because Harvard is such a prestigious university in the United States, all over the world. People can consider it maybe the top university in the world or one of them. And for them to have a grant from or received a grant request and then they're fulfilling it, that means that the Harvard Berkman Klein Center is going to be doing research. So you're going to have top experts in their field, professors and students alike, working on blockchain applications. And I believe that the nature of this request is for governance. So this will be implemented during Voltaire. So research as far as what voting would look like on the blockchain and how, you know, maybe we would interact with the treasury system. This is very important. Cardano always specifies that they're game theorists and they're leading the research as far as the metrics or what standards that they're using for the Cardano protocol. So there's no one better to use data from than Harvard University themselves. And I think that they will guide us on the right track, or whatever research that they release will guide us on the right track to see how we can fine tune the voting mechanisms to sustain the Cardano project for a long period of time. Because it's a science, making sure the correct percentages go to the treasury and the correct percentages get funded back to the community. If you do not research this, what could happen is either the treasury is going to be completely exhausted and things are never going to return back to the treasury and the project fizzles out, or, you know, everything's going to stay in the treasury and the project's not going to move forward. So you need to make sure you hit that sweet spot in voting and governance to allow the project to sustain itself and create initiatives in order to move it forward, because we're thinking 10, 20 years in the future. Sorry for that rant, Rick. I'll pass it back over to you.
Oh, no, you got to go into detail sometimes, especially if you have a perspective and opinion on something, because it gets people talking about it and thinking about it. And there was another question from Enoch Sashri. Enoch asks, Rick and Philippe, what are both your takes on the Scan Trust announcement? It's too early for me to really tell, Enoch, but states that it seems like this will go nice with their upcoming University of Wyoming aided donation blockchain project traceability research. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to speculate on that. I'm not a big speculator. I'm more of like a see it, do it, I believe it when I see it kind of guy. But as far as the Scan Trust announcement, referring back to that, that was to implement a proof of concept integration to develop or co-develop Cardano Connector, a blockchain-enabled product to provide provenance and authenticity tool. A lot like the New Balance. That's why I got my New Balance shirt on, right? To provide authenticity. And it could be related to pharmaceuticals, but it's related to, it could be related to such as the coffee farmers of Ethiopia, which is a big coffee production. And if Starbucks wants to sell coffee that is responsibly grown and fair trade coffee, you have to be able to prove that. You just can't buy any counterfeit rinky-dink coffee. If you want authentic Ethiopian coffee, you have to be able to verify that from the farmer in Ethiopia to the table at Starbucks. I think that's what the Scan Trust is about. That's how I read it.
Yeah.
There will be more coming from the Cardano Foundation related on that subject, though. So watch for more info. We'll see. We will see.
I'm very interested to see that product authenticity tool being released for Cardano. When we mentioned the coffee plantations in Eastern Africa or wherever they're sourcing coffee beans and making sure that the correct farm is sending the correct beans to, I don't know, the Starbucks location. It's use cases. All we need is one of those because they can be scaled to multiple different industries. If you look at it's very similar with the flower industry, like flowers that you give to your significant other. There's a whole issue with just sourcing it from sourcing it from certain farms that are treating their workers correctly and they're paying a reasonable living wage and they're using certain sustainable mechanisms in order to grow these flower plantations. They're not harming the environment like other flower manufacturers. So using that for that industry, you can scale it to multiple different industries. Basically what I'm saying is we just need that one use case for it to work, and then it's going to trickleate to a whole bunch of different industries, and you could just basically copy and paste it and create solutions for multiple different industries.
Yeah, another interesting industry where this kind of stuff could be useful is like nuclear reactor parts and aircraft parts, because they have certain traceability and control requirements on them. I don't know if it would be. I mean, it might be. It's just a thought. Those kind of parts are tightly controlled. And
Rick, all that nuclear waste that gets disposed in random places, and there are countries that are skirting those laws and not closing the containers correctly, and we'll hear about some kind of nuclear waste being just released into groundwater in the future. So I think that's huge.
Yeah. I was referring to the supply chain coming in, the parts coming from the manufacturer.
Okay.
Yeah, parts coming from the manufacturer.
Okay.
But yeah, where does it go after when you're done with it?
Oh, yeah. We need to put a little Cardano ADA QR code on the nuclear receptor when they're driving it out into the desert.
No, I think it's all in Colorado. It's near Charles's house.
Oh, really?
They bury it in a mountain out there somewhere.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that's pretty bad. All right, we're almost done. Looks like we've reached the hour. We're at the top of the hour.
Okay.
We're beyond the top of the hour.
All right. Any other questions from...
M. Jones says, I try to contribute, but I'm ignored. No, you're not, M. Jones. We love you, man. Tell us what you got to say.
Yeah, tell us what you want to say.
Tell us what you want to say. All right, let's see. Oh, Gene Tasker asked, gentlemen, how's your confidence level doing the project? Gene, I would say 75 to 80% confidence. Let's see.
I'll echo that.
Yeah. Good question, Gene. Fair enough. All right, looks good.
Oh,
looks good.
M. Jones says, I know Share. Oh, okay.
You know Share. Does Share have Bitcoin or ADA?
Okay.
I know a guy named Philippe. He's pretty famous.
I know a guy named Rick. Rick is a legend.
Oh, is he that? Is he a hobbit
Yeah.
that likes tacos? I know that guy. All right, I think we're good, buddy.
Okay.
Any other questions? Drop us in chat. We're signing off. Philippe.
All
anything?
right. I think that's it. So thank you, everyone, for signing in today and joining us in the Cardano Effect Podcast, episode 71. This is our live stream series where we cover the recent news that happened within the past week in the Cardano project, and you can ask questions on YouTube, and we try to interact with everyone here. So once again, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. And this was a big week for the Cardano project. I'd like to remind everyone that tomorrow early morning we'll be releasing episode 72 of the Cardano Effect podcast, where we are featuring new and old stake pool operators. So there are going to be a couple of new faces and some returning faces. And once again, this series is made to get as many operators on the program as possible. So I think you're going to enjoy it. It's ready to go, and I enjoyed creating the episode, and I edited it last night, so it's ready to go. So everyone have a wonderful weekend. Spend some time with some friends and family, and until the next episode of the Cardano Effect podcast. Bye, everyone.